Okay, imagine like trying to crack the toughest codes in like no time at all.
Yeah,
That's the kind of power everyone's talking about with quantum computing, right?
right.
And I feel like investors are, I don't know, kind of going a little crazy for it.
Yeah, yeah.
But is it all hype?
Hmm.
Well, we're going to take a deep dive into this Molly Fool article.
Okay.
It's from January 14th, 2025.
Right.
And it looks at some recent stock market trends and what the real potential of this technology is.
It's been pretty wild to watch how these quantum computing stocks have been behaving.
Yeah.
Like first they soared in late 2024,
Right.
and then beginning of 2025, they just took a nosedive.
Wow.
Some of these companies, we're talking like Rigetti, that's RGTI, quantum computing, QUBT, and IonQ.
Oh, yeah, I've seen those.
They've been experiencing bigger swings than even, those AI stocks that everyone's been going crazy for.
Yeah, I saw that. What do you think is behind this crazy roller coaster?
Well, that initial surge, I think that was all about the potential everyone sees for quantum computing.
Yeah.
Especially, when you start talking about AI
Right, right.
and Google, they made a big splash with their Willow quantum computer chip,
Yeah.
which, that just added more fuel to the fire.
Oh, for sure.
But then Jensen Huang,
Mhm.
he's the CEO of Nvidia.
Yeah.
He made some comments at CES 2025.
Right.
And that kind of threw some cold water on things, and that's when the stock started tumbling.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that making headlines. Before we go too much further, can you maybe break down like what quantum computing actually is?
Sure.
Because we're talking computers, but it's like a whole other level, right?
Yeah, it's not your typical computer.
Right.
So instead of bits, like the zeros and ones
Oh.
that traditional computers use,
Yeah.
quantum computers, they use qubits.
Okay.
And these qubits, they leverage,
Yeah.
the principles of quantum mechanics.
Yeah.
And this lets them exist in multiple states at once. It's this thing called quantum superposition.
Okay.
And then, combined with other quantum phenomena like entanglement,
Right.
all this allows these computers to tackle problems that would just take classical computers forever. Even, the most powerful ones we have today.
So it's not even just about speed. It's like a whole other category of problems they can solve.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
It's harnessing, all the strangeness of the quantum world to do things that we can't even imagine
Right.
with our normal computers.
Mm.
Things like simulating how molecules interact so we can discover new drugs or
Wow.
design like revolutionary new materials or cracking the encryption. That protects all our data online.
Right. I mean, I'm starting to see why everyone's so excited about this. But then you have someone like Jensen Huang, who leads, a company that's at the forefront of computing technology, saying we're still like 15 to 30 years away from seeing this really take off. What's his reasoning there?
Well, I think he makes a really good point. And his opinion, it carries a lot of weight.
Yeah.
He's highlighting, that there's this gap between like what's theoretically possible and, the reality of actually building and scaling these things.
Right.
They're incredibly complex.
Yeah.
They operate at the level of individual atoms and photons.
Atoms and photons.
Yeah.
That's like tiny.
It is.
How do you even build something like that?
It is incredibly difficult. And that's a big part of what's holding things back.
I bet.
For one, you need incredibly precise control
Yeah.
over those atoms and photons
Right.
to isolate them from any kind of external interference.
Okay.
So that means creating these really stable, low-temperature environments
Uh-huh.
and using very specialized equipment to manipulate those quantum states.
Wow.
Even the tiniest disturbance can throw things off
Really?
and introduce errors, make the whole system unreliable.
Yeah.
It's called decoherence, and it's one of the biggest hurdles right now.
I mean, I'm assuming building and maintaining these computers is incredibly expensive.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why only a few, institutions and companies can even access these early quantum computers.
Right.
It's not like you could just build one at home.
Yeah.
And even with all that effort, they're still prone to errors. It's a lot like, the early days of traditional computers.
Right.
They were massive, they were expensive, and they were only useful for very, very specific tasks.
So it's not even just about building one. It's about making them like more reliable.
Yeah.
Scaling them up and getting the cost down too.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's that long road ahead that Jensen Huang was talking about.
Right.
It's not just about the technology itself.
Yeah.
It's about all the software and the algorithms
Sure.
and, developing the expertise to make this practical
Right.
and accessible.
I'm starting to get a better picture of why this is such a long game. But what does all that mean for investors? For people hearing about this who are wondering if this is something to get into.
Well, that's where we can really dig into this Motley Fool article and what it recommends.
Okay.
Maybe when we come back.
All right. So we've got all this incredible potential, but some serious technical hurdles too.
Right.
And that's creating a lot of uncertainty in the market for sure. What's this Motley Fool article's take on all this? Should people be jumping into these quantum computing stocks right now?
It's they're pretty clear about it in the article.
Okay.
And I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
For most people, who are investing for the long term,
right,
and not really comfortable with a lot of risk.
Right.
It's probably best to, just kind of sit this one out.
Okay. I mean, I can see that. Makes sense with, all this stuff we've been talking about. What are their main reasons for saying that?
Well, one of the biggest things is these companies, even the big ones,
right,
they're still in, the very early stages of development.
Okay.
They're spending a ton of money on research, but they're not making much money yet.
Right.
Their profit margins.
Okay.
The difference between the money they're bringing in and what they're spending deep in the negative.
Wow. Yeah, right. So even if this does become the next big thing, there's no guarantee these companies will be the ones to
exactly
come out on top.
Yeah, it's like trying to pick the winning horse before the race even starts.
Oh, for sure.
You might have a hunch,
right,
but so many things can change.
Yeah.
And the article points out another thing too, which is that these stocks, they're trading it at what they call inflated valuations.
What does that mean?
So that means that the prices now, they're based more on speculation and hype than on what the companies are actually doing.
Right, their actual financials.
Yeah.
Okay.
People are excited.
Yeah.
And that's driving prices up.
Yeah.
But the companies themselves, they're not making the money to justify those prices.
Right.
It's a recipe for volatility.
Yeah.
You get these big swings up and down, and that uncertainty is what most investors want to avoid.
Okay, so it's basically buyer beware.
Yeah.
Especially if you're, not someone who can afford to lose a bunch of money.
Right. They're not saying it's a bad investment for everyone.
Yeah.
But be careful.
Understand the risks.
Yes.
Are there any investors who might be interested in these stocks?
They do mention a small group who might be, intrigued, even with all the risks.
Okay.
These are people with a really high tolerance for risk and a really, really long investment horizon. We're talking people who are comfortable with, potentially losing everything.
Wow.
And who are willing to wait decades to see if this pays off.
So the venture capitalists of the stock market.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But even for those folks, the article says, be careful.
Okay.
Don't just throw money at every company.
Right.
It's about really choosing carefully.
Yeah.
Companies with a solid foundation and, a good team.
Right.
Clear vision.
So it's not enough to just believe in the technology. You got to believe in the company, too.
Exactly.
Okay. So we've talked about the financial side of things, all the ups and downs and these challenges ahead. But let's think bigger picture for a second.
Okay.
The article focuses on, the investment side. But what is this?
Yeah.
What if this actually works? What could this mean, for the world?
That's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about possibly revolutionary changes.
Right.
In a whole bunch of fields.
Yeah.
From, medicine to material science to AI to energy.
I mean, the possibilities are almost limitless.
They really are.
Yeah. I mean, for medicine, imagine designing drugs that are tailored to your genetic makeup,
right?
Or being able to simulate how a drug will work before you even give it to someone.
Yeah, with incredible accuracy.
Yeah.
I mean, that could completely change how we treat diseases.
Absolutely.
I mean, it could revolutionize how we discover drugs and develop them.
Yeah. Potentially
leading to cures for diseases that, we just can't cure right now.
And it's bigger than medicine, right?
Oh,
what about, imagine designing materials with properties we can only dream of.
Right.
Super efficient solar panels. Or building materials that are super lightweight, but super strong.
Yeah.
What about self-healing fabrics?
Right.
I mean, it's crazy.
The possibilities are incredible.
And AI, too. We talked about that earlier. It seems like quantum computing could, like, supercharge AI in ways we can't even imagine.
Yeah, that's one of the areas where people really expect to see the biggest impact. Imagine AI systems that can really understand and respond to human emotions.
Wow.
Or solve these problems that seem impossible right now.
Okay.
Or speed up scientific discovery.
Yeah, so we're not even just talking about, like, small improvements. We're talking about, like, new things that we haven't even thought of yet.
Exactly. It's like opening a door to this whole new world of knowledge and innovation.
And that's what makes this so interesting.
Yeah.
Even with all the challenges.
It's compelling.
It's almost, like, overwhelming to think about.
It is.
Yeah.
But, it's important to be realistic about, how long this will take and the challenges. But we also need to see the potential here for really transformative change.
Okay, so for everyone listening who's now excited and maybe a little intimidated by all this,
right?
What's, like, the one big takeaway that you want them to remember?
Well, I think the most important thing is that quantum computing, it's a powerful technology with the potential to change things.
Right.
But it's early.
Okay.
There's a long way to go.
Yeah.
And there are lots of hurdles to overcome. But the rewards could be so big that it's worth paying attention to.
I agree. It's not even just about the money.
Right.
It's about the science and how society could change. So even if you're not, like, investing in this right now, keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
Who knows what the future holds?
Exactly. That's what makes it so exciting to explore this stuff.
Right.
It's a reminder that things are changing. And we have a chance to shape those changes.
Really well said. And that wraps up our quantum computing deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those questions coming. This could even be huge for something like climate change. Like, if these quantum computers can help us, I don't know, understand and design completely new materials.
Right.
Could that lead to, like, breakthroughs in energy storage or, I don't know, carbon capture?
That's a great point. It really shows how everything's connected, advances in materials. Science could have this ripple effect on how we fight climate change.
Right.
I mean, like super efficient solar cells.
Okay.
They can capture way more energy. Or materials that just, like, suck carbon dioxide out of the air.
Wow. It makes you wonder what other problems we could solve.
Right.
With this kind of power.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's so important to have these conversations now.
Okay.
Even though, the technology's still being developed.
Yeah.
We need to be thinking about what this could mean.
Right. The implications.
Yeah. The good and the bad.
Right.
So we can, be ready.
You're right. It's easy to just, get caught up in the excitement or the hype.
The hype.
But it's good to be realistic.
Yeah, we need a balanced perspective. We got to be aware of the risks as well as, the opportunities.
Absolutely.
I mean, one thing that comes up a lot is cybersecurity.
Okay.
These quantum computers could help us make better encryption, but they could also break our current encryption.
Yeah. That's a little scary.
It is a bit of a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
And that's why, we need to be talking about the ethical side of this, too.
Yeah, the ethics.
Like, what about regulation?
Right.
How do we develop this responsibly? How do we make sure everyone benefits?
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
It's not just about the technology itself. It's about how we use it as a society.
Yeah, we have a responsibility to guide this in a way that's good for everyone.
Couldn't agree more. Well, I think we've covered a lot today.
Yeah.
From the stock market craziness to all these mind-blowing possibilities.
It's a lot to think about.
It really is.
It is.
Yeah. So for everyone listening, if you're feeling a little overwhelmed by all this talk of qubits and quantum mechanics, just remember this.
Okay.
Quantum computing is powerful. It could change the world. But it's still early.
Yeah, it's still early.
It's a journey. And who knows
right.
what amazing discoveries are out there waiting for us.
It's a reminder that we're living in this amazing time of scientific advancement, and the future is full of possibilities.
Well said. That wraps up our quantum computing deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep asking those big questions.